Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host, Braden Coombs, and here are your 3 p.m. sports and news headlines. We start off with local news. The BC General Employees Union, BCGEU, are escalating their job action amid provincial plans to fast-track several projects in the mining sector. British Columbia's public service workers are slowing down their work. Staff in mineral and mine offices in Vancouver and Cranbrook will join picket lines. The increase in job action puts 8,500 public service workers on these picket lines. The president of the BCGEU, Paul Finch, says they have been trying to minimize the effects on the public, but that won't continue much longer. The mayor of Richmond, Malcolm Brody, has announced that he will not be seeking re-election next year. Brody has been the mayor of Richmond for 25 years now and says that it has been an honor and a privilege to serve the city. During his announcement, he highlighted the recent Cowichan tribe's ruling by the BC Supreme Court as one of the challenges his successor will have to take on. Brody was first elected as a Richmond City Council member in 1996 and later became mayor in 2001. The Vancouver Public Library has added a new face to their ranks. Eden Chipperfield has more on the new writer-in-residence joining the VPL.
The VPL Writer-in-Residence program operates from September to December every year. Part of the Writer-in-Residence role includes leading workshops for aspiring writers at all levels. This year, writer and beadwork artist Selena Bowen has been appointed to the role. Bowen was the recipient of the Pat Lothar Memorial Award and the Indigenous Voices Award for her poetry. Beyond writing, Bowen's experience includes work as an adjunct instructor in creative writing at the University of British Columbia, as well as teaching the next generation in elementary school classrooms. Bowen's first workshop, The Nature of Personification, will occur September 17th at the Central Library Branch. Eden Chipperfield, BCIT News.
A car crash involving two vehicles in Langley has left one driver dead. The incident happened at around 6:20 p.m. yesterday evening near the intersection of 259th Street and 48th Avenue. Langley RCMP say the driver died at the scene, and impairment is not at play in the early investigation. Police say this is the fifth fatal car crash in the last 6 weeks in Langley. Officers will begin increasing their traffic enforcement and patrol in these areas where speeding and collisions are more common. The BC Homicide Investigation Team says second-degree charges have been laid following the death of a man who was found dead in an RV in May. The incident occurred on May 19th when Agassiz RCMP were called to conduct a wellness check on the 42-year-old man. The investigation was 4 months long, leading the BC Prosecution Service to charging the 44-year-old suspect. Madhuvanti Mohan is an artist in Vancouver who makes illustrations on products and retails them. Mohan has a deep passion and interest in art, and she has turned that passion into a full-time career. She moved to Vancouver from India 3.5 years ago and noticed quite quickly that it was hard to find people that shared the same artistic love that she had. This is why she started a drink and draw event to find more artists with a similar passion.
Having this artist community, sometimes it's just like such a relief to talk to other artists who think about the world the same way that you do. And so I started hosting these gatherings on meetups, and now it's like a regular group of people, and it brings me so much joy, and it's really nice to have this community.
The group meet at a local brewery where they drink, draw, and talk about art. Transport and Internal Trade Minister Chrystia Freeland has announced that she is stepping down from cabinet. This means that she will not be running in the next federal election. Prime Minister Mark Carney wrote in a letter posted to social media that Freeland will serve as Canada's new special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine. During her time as a journalist, Freeland lived in both Ukraine and in Russia. She is also of Ukrainian descent. David McGuinty, Canada's defense minister, says there is no longer any safety risk involving multiple bomb threats that happened in Calgary. The minister says 3 different commercial aircrafts were involved in the threats. The flights were headed from Germany to Calgary International Airport. The North American Aerospace Defense Command deployed fighter jets to the scene, but once the plane landed, it was determined that the threats were no longer credible. The RCMP is now investigating the matter. Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to meet the Premier of Saskatchewan, Scott Moe, today. The meeting is being held to discuss the recent Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola. This is Moe's second meeting surrounding the tariff after he had visited China earlier this month, after China had imposed a 76% tariff on canola seed. The two will also be joined by the Federal Minister for Agriculture and International Trade. President Donald Trump has officially arrived in the United Kingdom, where he will meet King Charles III. With this visit, Trump becomes the first U.S. president to get a second state visit to the UK. The two leaders plan to meet at Windsor Castle, where they will hold talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer as well. Trump says UK officials want to continue trade negotiations during his visit. The British government hopes a multi-billion-dollar technology deal will show strong transatlantic ties, despite differences over Ukraine and the Middle East. The suspect in the killing of the conservative activist Charlie Kirk has been charged with aggravated murder. This comes after the DNA found on the gun trigger matches the DNA of Tyler Robinson. The charge means the 22-year-old shooter could face the death penalty if convicted of killing Kirk. A funeral will be held for Charlie Kirk this Sunday at the Arizona Cardinals Stadium. Beloved Canadian author Robert Munsch has been approved for a medical-assisted death. Reporter Leah Warren has more on how fans will remember him.
Robert Munsch, a famous children's book author, revealed to the New York Times that he'll end his own story on his own terms after struggling with dementia. Since hearing this news, fans online have iterated the impact Munsch has made on them. Deborah Dinshaw credits Munsch's books with making her feel included while growing up.
While I was in school in the 90s, it wasn't as diverse, and I never felt really that I belonged necessarily. But to see at this mass level that, hey, everybody's voice matters, made me realize that, hey, I don't have to fit into a certain box.
For all that Munsch has done for Canadians, he has been inducted into the Order of Canada, he has a star in Canada's Walk of Fame, and has 2 public schools in Ontario named after him. Leah Warren, BCIT News.
Now over to sports. Former Canucks star JT Miller has been named the new captain of the New York Rangers. The Rangers acquired Miller last season via an in-season trade with the Canucks. JT, who played 5.5 seasons with the Canucks, is named the captain after just 30 games with his new team. He was drafted by the Rangers and played his first 6 seasons in the NHL with them, meaning he is not completely new to the organization. JT Miller will return to Rogers Arena and face off against his former team for the first time on October 28th. The Vancouver Whitecaps are back in action tonight when they host Canadian Premier League side Forge FC at 7 p.m. The two teams faced off in the first leg over a month ago where they tied 2-2. The winner of this match will play in the Canadian Championship final. The Whitecaps will look to continue their strong form following their huge 7-0 win over Philadelphia Union this past weekend. In baseball, the late season push for playoffs continues as the Toronto Blue Jays take on the Tampa Bay Rays in their second game of their series. The game is set to start just after 4:30 p.m. The Blue Jays will look to extend their win streak to 6 games, with pitcher Jose Barrios expected to get the start. Jays star shortstop Bo Bichette won't be on the field again as he seeks a second opinion on his PCL injury. Jays fans will be scoreboard watching too, as there's 2 other games on tonight. The Boston Red Sox will be facing off against the Athletics at 3:45 p.m., which will be followed by the New York Yankees taking on the Minnesota Twins at 4:30. As it stands right now, the Blue Jays are 5 games ahead of the Yankees and 6 games ahead of the Red Sox for the top spot in the American League East. The Blue Jays' magic number to clinch first place in the division is now down to 7 games. The Seattle Mariners are back in action tonight too. They'll be in Missouri, starting out their series against the Kansas City Royals at 4:30. Mariners pitcher Logan Gilbert is expected to get the nod on the mound, and don't forget to keep an eye out for catcher Cal Raleigh as he looks to break the record for most home runs by a switch hitter in a single season, a record that he tied in their last game. They currently stand just half a game ahead of the Houston Astros for the number 1 spot in the American League West. Astros are in action tonight as well, as they play in their second game of the series against the Texas Rangers. Game time for that one is set at 5 p.m. Canada's Ethan Katzberg has won gold in the men's hammer throw in Tokyo at the 2025 Athletic Championship. The Nanaimo native broke the championship record during his win, throwing the hammer 84.70 meters. The previous championship record was set at 83.63. This comes right after his compatriot Cameron Rogers won a throwing event and took home gold as well. This is now the second time that the duo have won back-to-back golds after completing this at the Summer 2024 Olympics. SFU cleaned house in their Player of the Week awards this past week, specifically in soccer. In women's soccer, forward Kira Scott and goalie Sarah Lowen both won Women's Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week. What does inclusivity mean in the context of recreational sports like dodgeball? Our reporter Graciela Flores with the story of how the sport has served to bring safer places for unrepresented communities.
Given the political climate, inclusivity has been a top priority for many advocates for safer spaces for the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. In the Dodgeball Society, the Vancouver Dodgeball League has worked to make more room for queer teams to be able to participate and play. Executive Director of the VDL, Samantha Berry, says this is an opportunity to open doors for people who want to find connections in Vancouver.
I think especially given the climate today in Alberta and all that, we have a large queer community in Vancouver and surrounding areas that just want a safe place to play sports. So by opening up these doors, we're giving them that opportunity to just play as if anybody else were able to play.
Since COVID-19, studies suggest casual interactions can significantly impact a person's well-being. Graciela Cruz Flores, BCIT News.
Now for weather, it's going to continue to stay hot out there with a high of 24 degrees. Those were your 3 p.m. headlines. I'm Braden Coombs.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
When I tell people that I studied journalism, they immediately say, oh, you want to be a reporter. But I think, in my case personally, I really want to go into magazines, PR, social media. And I think here at school we learn a lot of skills that allow you to go into that world, because you learn how to write for social media, social content, for websites.